And after last night's massacre, we want you to join our conversation tonight. What do you think would help prevent gun violence? Pick an option by going to WFMY.com/vote now. And while you answer, WFMY News 2's Adoria Chumba found out what you can do to stay safe in a shooting situation.
Now, local authorities say it is next to impossible to know when something like this could happen without a chance interception or being tipped off. And that's why they say it is important that when you see something or someone off, you need to say something. Now, they also say everyone must do their part to secure themselves and ensure their environment and their own safety. That's especially true for owners and customers of high traffic locations like bars and clubs. They say these areas have become vulnerable targets with people armed with ill intent.
Like we do in the schools and the other locations, when something like that happens, you need to try and run away from it as fast as you can. If you get to the point that you are sort of cornered or whatever, then you need to be fighting, and the other one is just hiding, trying to get out of sight of the person that's shooting.
Understand the circumstances that you're confronted with, and to take a decisive response in a moment's notice to be able to react in a way that will greatly increases your chance of survival.
Now, that strategy is called the run, hide, fight technique. Law enforcement say it can increase chances of survival in the case of a security breach. Now, many downtown businesses and business owners I spoke to say that, when these things happen, that they are forced to reassess their security. They already have methods in place with security cameras. They have security guards in place and are also partnering with local law enforcement. But again, they are reminded that these things can happen anywhere, and they often do reassess and review their own security plans and needs.
Adoria, thank you. Greensboro police are giving you a chance to learn how to prepare for an active shooter situation just in case. They'll share how to personally prepare for active shooters and talk about how officers would respond. The sessions are Tuesday, November 20th at noon and Tuesday, November 27th at 5:30 p.m. at police headquarters. Police say these sessions were previously scheduled, but the shooting in California is another reason people may want to attend. The sessions are free, but you must register. We have the links on WFMYnews2.com.